What's up, Marvel
recording?
reporters? Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, sorry.
How's it going? Lots of stuff going on in the Marvel Universe lately. Most recent, Daredevil Season 2.
So Blaise and I, pretty much like everyone else, I'm sure, binged Daredevil this past weekend. All 13 episodes, action-packed, and really, we got to talking about it. This was very much like, it was the blockbuster sequel to Season 1. You had more villains, you had more heroes, you had more action, you had more of everything.
Yeah.
And we are going to dive into it, get into specifics here. This will have spoilers, just letting you know. So if you haven't finished Daredevil Season 2 yet, we're going to be talking about pretty much everything that happens, including the finale. So make sure you watch that before checking this out. But Blaise, before we get into, the major stuff, I just want to know, what was your initial thoughts of this season? Like, how would you describe it?
So when I initially, finished watching the season, at first I was kind of like mixed on it. I think that, I told you, I was like, I'm not sure, like I might like Season 1 better, but Season 2 had a lot. And I think that the one major flaw that we both talked about with this season is why my initial thoughts were a little subdued, I guess. But after I got to thinking about it, and I guess after I realized everything that they gave us in this season and everything that happened and how much action there was and how well everything was handled, like, I love this season much more than the first one. Not that the first one is bad or anything, but this just elevates it in all the right places and takes us to a good next level for Daredevil.
No, definitely. I think this season, it improved upon a lot of the issues I had with Season 1, and I loved Season 1 as a whole. I thought it was great. But it kind of, where Season 1 stalled a little bit, I think sometimes, it kind of dragged at some points. It was a little slower. This season never slowed down.
Yeah,
to its fault at some points, too, because I think some things, and we'll get into it in a second, could have been explained better or developed a little better. But, it's just nonstop from the get-go. When you have Daredevil and Punisher fighting in the first episode, that tells you right there, what we're in store for.
Literally those first 4 episodes, they feel like a season finale arc. You feel like you're concluding some season 1.5 that was dedicated completely to the Punisher, and it's like, okay, I just watched, I know enough with what they give you, that this just feels like it's finishing, and I really like that. I thought it was a cool element, a great way to sort of get that over with, because I didn't know, we knew Elektra was coming in, we knew we were getting the Punisher, and to me it was okay, how are they gonna have all this play out and have it work and come together? Because, obviously, Punisher and Elektra, those are gonna be different stories. Those aren't gonna interact really at all.
Yeah, and where they do interact, though,
it makes sense.
It's about how it informs the character of Matt Murdock, which I thought this season did a really great job of exploring that inner conflict within Matt. And not that the first season didn't, but it was just those two interesting ways. It was he's confronted with the aspect of killing both with the Punisher and Elektra, and it's he kind of has the more the Punisher using it as vengeance. Sort of, and is that really a warped sense of justice? That kind of presents him with the hero or maybe vigilante he could be, whereas Elektra with the killing, it's more of a seductive thing. Yeah. Because he's just so captivated by her. I mean, he's, as we see really throughout the season, the real love of his life. No disrespect to Karen Page, I love you, Karen Page, but yeah, and I think that's what I really respect and am really impressed with this season, is how they brought those two very different sides of the story together in this kind of emotional way to impact Matt.
I agree.
And I think that's the biggest success of the season. Whereas, and we can, if you want to get into it, the one, at least one of the major faults I had, and you and I have both said, is, and it's not like we needed Wilson Fisk, even though we did get Wilson Fisk back for a couple episodes, which was great.
A nice 495 pounds.
His scene with which was ridiculous, but it's out of the comics, right? But his scene with Matt Murdock was fantastic, and there were some great moments with him. I was happy that the Daredevil writers didn't feel like they needed to retread that, but what was missing after those first 4 episodes with Punisher was a strong central villain. And I think we both kind of agreed that as much as we like the idea of the hand, the execution was kind of...
It's tough because you're dealing with so much lore when it
Yeah.
comes to the hand, and you're dealing with this like ancient society. And you know, in season 1, they tried to fill you in on it. They had Stick with his like BS, you know, like stories that he tells Matt, and being really cryptic about the war and the gate and and how New York is about to turn into a battleground.
Yeah.
And you know, I said to you like, I felt like, we just said that it felt like they almost sort of like retconned that plot. Like
Yes.
they decided, like, well, you know, we mentioned it all last season, but we didn't do it well enough. We wasted Nobu last season, but it didn't make.
But the fans
total
liked
sense.
him, so...
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that, but
Yeah.
it just, for me, it felt like Stick was almost repeating word for word, like the lines he said in the
Totally.
first season, and Nobu came back, and they were trying to kind of present this big threat, but then it'd be like, you know, okay, like 4 ninjas attack Matt, and it's like, oh no, and obviously he has the little hiccup where he's like, at first it's like, I can't hear them, like I can't.
Yeah, that was cool.
And I like that. I was like, okay, these definitely are an elevated type of enemy for him from what we've seen, but it was just like so quick and so, like. Exactly. There wasn't like a final boss to the hand yet, and I get that. And again, it's like they were setting that up with the whole Electra plot and everything, but yeah, it was sort of. It felt just like unstable. I would say.
No, I agree, and it would have had more of an impact. I mean, as cool as it is to see Electra and Matt just beating the crap out of all these different ninjas, like and again, cannot stress how terrific the action sequences, especially. I mean, we could talk about it real quick, just not to get too off. Episode 3, that. The hallway stairwell scene was it topped the hallway scene from season 1. However, the hand as its villain on its own, I feel like was lacking, but it did lead to some great moments, especially in the finale when Electra dies. She dies for Matt. She dies kind of being a good person, and I thought that the payoff of that was really nicely handled. While I didn't really, I didn't really care that it was Nobu and the hand that was killing her. Like, it still worked because of the journey we had gone on with Matt and Electra themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's where, again, the season really, really shines, is in those new relationships between Matt and Frank Castle, Matt and Electra.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I'm going to take away most from season 2.
Yeah, and I think exactly, they executed all of that really well. I feel like they felt a little pressured maybe to set up, going forward,
Sure.
and that's why they sort of shoehorned in all of the hand stuff and tried to make them this big presence. But yeah, you're right. It was, in the end, what it came down to was establishing the connection he had with these characters, and going forward now, like, I am excited to see if whenever Electra returns and is presumably like evil or brainwashed or whatever when she resurrects, how will Matt handle that at first?
Yeah.
Because again, while she might not remember who he is or not care anymore, he's gonna always have that inner conflict of like, I love this person. So that, I appreciate, at least going forward, that they built up the relationship well enough to like overlook, I guess, the minor flaw in the hand being that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So,
I mean, the season did try to cram a lot into
Yeah.
it. I mean, it wasn't Batman v Superman levels of trying to cram things into it, but it did try to do a lot of stuff, and it did it mostly well.
Yeah.
And I even think, kind of moving away from Matt and Electra and Punisher, even the supporting characters. For the most part, we have one thing we'll talk about, but Foggy, I loved Foggy this season, and seeing him, I don't like to see him and Matt fight, but him standing up for himself and really coming into his own as a lawyer was terrific. And I liked Karen for the most part. I liked her story this season, although, and I'll let you kind of take this. We both kind of feel that her story was wrapped up a little quickly.
Yeah, I think that, I agree. One of my favorite things about this season was I felt like those two characters, they felt more important to me. And, I really liked the development that went into them. I liked Foggy's arc. I just liked that he, by the end, was like, I don't need Matt, and to survive at least.
Yeah.
And then, Karen, I really like Karen. I like her character, but it just felt like this season, it felt like a little repetitive to me, because again, it was like, I like what she did. I loved her connection with Punisher, and that was, I thought, like a very great individual thing for her to do. And but just the whole investigative journalist thing and how it felt like she was doing sort of the same thing she did last season, where her only story became running around to seek the truth, and I'm okay with that. Like, that's a good, I think that's a great thing for the character to have. It makes her a strong individual to know sort of like, I have to do this stuff for the greater good.
But I agree with you. It did feel a little repetitive at times. I know the idea was her kind of maybe becoming sort of the next Ben York in a way, but
and my problem just came with my biggest problem came with the boss journalist. I forget I don't remember his name. But in the first season, he's basically just, he's basically just like, Ben, like, F off, you old school, like, you still care, like, you don't want to write clickbait, basically, and operate under these new journalistic rules. Yeah. And then all of a sudden in this season, he just does some crazy 180 and is like, and Karen walks in and he's like, I'm coming with you, like. And it was weird, and I understood maybe like the redemption, and then by the end of the story, she's like in the office, and he's basically like, yep, they're like one of our top journalists now, and we'll see where it goes. It just felt rushed to me.
No, I think an easy solution to this is this, and correct me if you think but I think you make Karen the reporter type still. But you don't have the other guy, the boss, Ben's boss in it, and you kind of just make her, and then maybe at the end of the season you have her apply to join a paper, or you have her, doing something like that, or she offers like an article somewhere where she can get.
I wouldn't even mind if she was with that same paper, as long like. It's like, I know Karen can do this on her own.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I agree.
know, and it would have felt more earned to me if she had basically if she had only interacted with that guy when she wanted to go look at all the old papers, all the like old Punisher clippings and stuff.
And it also felt, because it kind of felt weird. He was like, "Oh, have this, have it," and then and in more way, he's like, "Oh, this office is yours now." Yeah, and I was just kind of like, but did she really earn that?
If instead it had just been like, basically him not writing her off, but just being like, all right, if you want to like look at these things, like, I don't know what you'll get out of it, and then at the end she kind of comes to him with a well put together story that does expose the truth, and is basically like throws it on his desk or something, and then we see maybe it like running in the paper, or like then it feels more earned. It's like she proved everybody wrong. She did this on her own. Like, she fought for what she believed in, and I just didn't need him to like. I didn't need him to feel like, oh, I'm like holding her hand as we like turn her fully into this journalist.
Yeah, and it just felt like, oh, you had a connection with Ben, so I don't know. I didn't like it. I'll be straight up, and this is nothing against the actor, just kind of creepy vibes, man. I just got creepy vibes. It seemed like with him and Karen,
Alright guys, so that's going to be it for us. This is Chris and Blaise for the Marvel Report, giving our spoiler-filled Daredevil Season 2 review. We both loved the season. We want to know what you think. Feel free to comment on this post if you're on the website. Comment on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Marvel Report. Follow us on Twitter at The Marvel Report, at Blaise Hopkins, at CKinger13. And keep on reading and keep on loving Marvel. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.